The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation, make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels, operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Monroe, Oregon, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32907. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting just under the front bumper, you have 2 open-ended tow hooks located on the frame rail. Up onto the bumper face, passenger and driver side, dual air horns. Located directly in the center, your electronic siren, PA speaker. Moving up onto the bumper extension, you'll find on the passenger side your turret location. Moving directly in the center, you have a tubbed storage location for your front bumper load. Moving out to the outer edges of the body of the cab, you'll find turn indicator marker lights. Just inside of that turn indicator marker light on the passenger side is where you'll find a side-facing camera. Back to the face, you'll find your headlights, low and high beam. High beam is on the inside section. Moving up to the next cluster of lights, you'll find a turn indicator and emergency light. Moving up onto the windshield, you'll find 3 windshield wipers across your one-piece seamless windshield. Moving to the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 running lights. Located directly in the center, you'll find a forward-facing floodlight. Moving up onto the roof, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Let's take a couple close-ups here. This is that front bumper area. This is the swivel 1.5-inch discharge. You'll also find 2 hose straps for securing the hose in the front bumper extension. Here's some close-ups. Front turret. There's also an electrical line on the right. Just underneath this location is where you'll find the drain valve for the front turret. Close-up here of the visor area. Emergency warning lights at the top, forward-facing flood in the center. Let's move back to the front. You'll find a water indicator indicating the level of your tank water. To the driver's side, you'll find an auto-eject air inlet. To the right, you'll find your short inlet. This is a 20-amp auto-eject plug. Let's move to the side. You'll also find an additional driver's side and passenger side water tank indicator. As we move to the pump area, you'll find 2 2.5-inch discharges. Moving to the center, American flag, Eagle, Pierce logo, large diameter pump intake. Because it's an electronic valve, you do have an override located at the top. Moving to the far right, you'll find a warning label here regarding a fall, injury, and do not ride on the side or back of your apparatus. You'll also find this is your foam fill location, your foam inlet. You'll also find all your associated color-coded and labeled drains. Moving just to the right, you'll find a 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. This is a female coupling. And then to the right, you'll find a warning label here regarding pressurized hazard and removing caps while under pressure and the associated hazards with doing that. Here's a close-up of number 1 and number 3 driver's side discharge. The driver's side auxiliary inlet. Let's move now to the side of the vehicle. This is going to be the driver's side. These are the compartments to gain access to the pump panel area and also compartment shelving. Let's go ahead and take a look behind this compartment door is where you'll find your toolbox. To access this, simply pull the brightened aluminum handle to gain access inside the drawer. As we move to the top section, you'll find your extension for your Wilbert light tower, the start button on your left, and also an emergency stop in the upper right, which is red in color. To reset after pushing the emergency stop, you do need to twist. Let's start here at the pump panel. This is your pump engaged indicator panel light. If your pump is properly engaged, that light will be illuminating. To the left, you'll find an indicator for your foam level tank A. In the gray area, you'll find your master intake. And to the right, you'll find your master discharge. These are the 2 master gauges for your apparatus.
Down at the lower section, you'll find the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. And as we move to the right, you'll find your PCM fault yellow or amber indicator. Just beneath that, you'll find an audible alarm speaker. The outer edge of the bezel does have the ability to adjust the sound volume. Just beneath that, you'll find a pump overheat amber indicator, which will also provide an audible alarm. Let's move downward from this location. You'll find all of your discharges. They are color-coded and also labeled. Front discharge, number 1, number 2, and 2.5 inch discharge, located on the left-hand side. As we move to the right-hand side, you'll find the primer for your fire pump. There are some instructions just beneath this that you should have at least 1,000 RPMs prior to engaging your primer. We'll talk about this. This is the minimum operation maintenance schedule. I have a slide of this in the later part of the presentation. We'll talk a little bit more in depth of what this is for. As we move to the right, you'll find your pressure throttle governor. And once again, we'll talk a little bit more about this as we move forward. Here's a close-up of those discharges. Back to your minimum operation maintenance schedule, 150, 200, and 250 PSI test pressures. The GPM is on the left-hand side, and the RPM that's associated with that is on the right-hand side. Job number located at the very top, and a governed speed of 2,400 RPMs. Let's start with the pressure throttle governor. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll find a check engine light if illuminated in amber, a digital readout for your RPMs. To the right, you'll find a stop, which would be red if illuminated. Just beneath that, you'll find all of your engine diagnostic information. Beneath that, you'll find in this blue section of the module, this is your water tank level indicator. To the right, you have a silence button for the audible alarm. Just down from that, in the orange, is a menu button, which allows you to push and scroll through the various menu selections. Down in the lower section, you have the option of pressure control or RPM throttle control. There is a digital readout in between those two indicators. As we move further down, this is your control mode to select whether you're in throttle or pressure. That's the blue button. Moving to the right, you'll have a indicator that's green that says throttle ready. That's okay to engage the throttle. And then to the right, the green button is if you choose to use presets. That's how you would engage your presets. The lower section is your throttle position. Right to increase, left to decrease, or push red, which is idle. As we move down from this location, we'll find your tank fill and recirculating line. You do have 4 electronic valves in this location. First, the driver's main inlet, tank to pump, number 2, passenger side discharge, and then your large diameter passenger side discharge. You also have a primer located directly in the center and priming instructions just beneath that. And all the way to the right-hand side of the image is where you'll find your deluge discharge. This is your master stream device on top of the vehicle in the dunnage area. Here's some close-ups of those images that we just talked about, left-hand side of the pump panel, and as we move to the right-hand side of the pump panel here. Let's move down to the next section beneath this area, starting first on the left-hand side. This is your intake relief valve. It is adjustable. We'll talk about that in a moment. As we move to the right, only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and only after you've received proper training. To the right, you'll find a twist. This is your primer drain. And we'll talk a little bit about what's behind the door here in just a second, but let's move down to the very bottom section. Once again, these are all of your discharges. They are color-coded and also labeled. They are a lift style discharge. As we look at the intake relief valve, first, this indication here is to pull the knob out to make the adjustment, turn to change the setting, and then push to reset. Once again, discharge drains down the lower section. Let's move inside that area where you'll find your manual pump shift. This is just behind the pump panel door that we just mentioned. And as we look to the left-hand side of this area, you'll find a set of switches that are currently non-existent. Those are for spares or future switch locations. As we look midship here, this is your crosslay. I'd like to find a warning label regarding entanglement hazard. You also have two cross lays down at the lower section that are speed lays that can be pulled out and removed from their area, loaded, and returned back. To remove that speed lay, all you have to do is lift the yellow latch that just presented itself there. At the very top, we're going to find additional loads. As we move further back, just in front of the rear wheel, you'll find bottle storage locations for your SCBA and oxygen bottle. You'll also find over the rear wheel additional storage location, LED lighting, and also adjustable shelving. The silver cap is your ultra low sulfur diesel. As we move the flap downward, you'll expose the DEF, which is 4.5 US gallons. Moving to the next compartment all the way in the rear, you'll find a pull-out shelf here, the release mechanism on the right. Just underneath that compartment is your wheel chock storage. The lever on the left is a release for your wheel chocks. Let's move to the rear of the apparatus where you'll find your brake, turn, and also reverse lights on the passenger and driver side. Located also in the rear, you'll find two fold-down steps. There are two locations here for accessing your ladder. First, the release to pull the ladder away from the body, and then the last one to drop the ladder down. There are 4 emergency lights in the rear of your apparatus, 2 scene lights, and there is also a cupped switch which allows you to turn or access on and off these scene lights from the rear. Let's move up from this location. You'll find 2 locations for ladder storage and also long tool handle storage. As we move to the center, you'll find your backup or reverse camera. Moving just to the right, you'll find a large diameter tank fill, and then to the right of that, you'll find an indicator indicating the water level of your tank. I would like to talk about some of the warning labels here. There are some warning labels regarding not riding on the back of the apparatus. There is the possibility of fall, and because of those hoses coming off at a higher position, there is the possibility of entanglement, and that's what that warning label is for. Just a quick view here of the rear of the apparatus. On the side of the ladder, you'll find additional warning labels. And at the very bottom, rear section, passenger and driver side, you'll also find your wheel chocks and the release mechanism of that latch. Let's take a look in the center compartment. Pull-out shelf in the lower section. The release mechanism is on the right. Close-up here of the rear scene light switch. As we move more to the center, you'll find your backup camera. Close-up here of those warning labels. And then also let's move to the right-hand side of this image where you'll find your direct tank fill and also your water level indicator. You do have a 24-foot extension ladder, a 14-foot roof ladder. Just above this location is where you'll find your 10-foot attic ladder and then any additional long tool storage. This is your hose bed with a diamond-plated hose bed cover, which you can see from underneath. We'll move to the right-hand side of the image or right-hand side of the truck. You'll find troughs here for your suction hoses. As we move to the dunnage hatch area, you'll find these yellow diamonds. Reflective for nighttime for firefighter safety. Located in the center, you'll find your water tank top fill location. You'll also find your foam tank A, which is your foam fill location. As we move to the foam tank A, I would like to point out there is a warning label here regarding foam failure that you should not mix different brands or consistencies. This is also a vent on the top. The latch mechanism is on the top side of this image, which would be on the passenger side. Let's take a look at the rear section of your apparatus. There are 2 latches to gain access inside the hose bed cover, and there are 4 grab handles located here, and on the outer edges you also have 4 lights. There are diamonds that are reflective all the way around this area for firefighter safety so that they know the edge of the walking surface. Located in the dunnage, you'll find your light tower, and then just to the right you'll see the blue tape here. This is where your MasterStream device would be attached. You do have a work light located here for your hose bed area. The front of the cab is a non-walking surface. That's why we have 2 warning labels here not to walk in this area. It is slippery. Just a general view here of the dunnage area. As we look inside the cab, at all points of entry, you'll find these warning labels regarding the use of seat belts and firefighter safety. There are 2 forward-facing fold-down seats here and 2 EMS compartments located in the front. Directly overhead, you'll find push on and off white and red lights, and also your Firecom headset hangers. Located in the center, you'll find the location for your daily checks for your oil and transmission. There is a light push on and off inside this area for visibility. Here's a view of the EMS compartments. Adjustable shelving and LED lighting are also inside those compartments. Looking from the rear, forward outside of the truck. Let's go ahead and move now to the front section. This is the operator section, point of entry, so we've got those warning labels. As we look to the lower section of the seat, you'll find when plugged into shore power, your battery charging system will activate. You'll also find your manufactured by Pierce placard, date of manufacture, job number, VIN number, gross vehicle weight ratings, cold tire inflation, and then also helpful information for your fluid capacity components, fluid capacity, and also the fluid types. Let's go ahead and look about the left knee of the operator, where you'll find your master battery switch. It is the silver quarter turn switch. To the right, you'll find your green. This is a diagnostic port for the engine, transmission, and ABS, and also your J1939. Just beneath that, you'll find ABS diagnostics, DPF, engine diagnostics, and regen inhibit switch. Moving to the right-hand side of the column is where you'll find your off-road traction and load manager. Let's move to the left-hand side of the column where you'll find your ignition switch and start switch. Moving to the right, you'll find also a small cluster of switches, one labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master. That will engage all your emergency lights on or off. To the right, you'll find your headlights and parking lights. And then to the right, you'll find a panel switch, which indicates the brightness or ability to increase or decrease the brightness of your gauges at the panel. On the steering column, you'll also find column control for tilt or telescoping. As we look to the center gauges, you're going to find on the left you have DEF, transmission, water, and oil. And on the right, you'll find your volts, fuel, front and rear air. Located in the center, you'll find your tachometer and speedometer. And you also have diagnostic information above and below the speedometer. As we look to the right-hand side, you'll find your backup camera monitor. Just beneath that, you'll find your digital readout for your pump pressure. And to the right, you'll find an indication here of your water tank level. Moving further to the right, you'll find a rotating and push switch. This is going to be for windshield wiper, push for the fluid onto the windshield. As we move down from that location, we'll find a set of switches here, which I've got a little bit better picture of those, and we'll talk about those in a minute. Moving further down, you'll find your pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. These are your primary brakes. Here are those switches. We have an engine brake on and off, settings for low, medium, and high, an indication for stationary OK to pump and roll, your water pump, tire change, which currently has a piece of tape on it for protection, and also your mirror heat. As we move down just to the right of that location, you'll find your flat mirror and convex mirror controls. And then let's jump back up here. Once again, system parking brake, pull to apply, push to release. And then to the right, your Allison transmission pad and an indication that pump in neutral. You do have climate control, heating and air conditioning, and also defrost in the gray area. Let's move now to the center section. This is just on the right-hand side. This is the control for your front bumper turret. And then to the right, you'll find controls for the module for your PA system and siren. Let's move to the right-hand side. Center area is where you're going to find the control mechanism for your front bumper turret. Now let's go ahead and move overhead of the operator's seat. Yellow placard, height 10 feet 2 inches, length 32 feet 1.5 inches, gross vehicle weight rating of 49,000 pounds. If you make any changes to your apparatus, please update this placard. This also has the vehicle's job number. Moving to the right, you'll find a set of switches containing the emergency master. This is connected to the emergency master located on the left-hand side of the column. Also a siren horn, mechanical siren, and a siren brake. Moving to the right, the next set of switches, you'll find the front scene, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, rear scene, and perimeter lights. When any of the switches have been selected, the green indicator will illuminate, indicating that the light is on. Moving to the right, you'll find your Pierce Information Center regarding your seat belts, green indicating someone is in the seat and they are belted, red indicating that they are in the seat and not belted. You'll also receive the do not move truck if they are not belted. Let's move further to the right. You'll find this do not move truck. This is an indication that you have either a compartment door open or you have a person door open. Let's move to the door panel itself, where you'll find additional information here regarding warning and safety for firefighters. Also located at the hinge panel location, you'll find the fill location for your windshield wiper fill. Let's move now to the center area, where on the officer side, you'll find two barrel-style 12-volt access points. As we look overhead, we'll find push on and off red and white lights, and then all of the information modules above. First starting underneath with your FireCom wireless base system. Moving up onto the top, you'll have an additional heater control, air conditioning control, and defrost control. Front scene, driver's side scene, passenger side scene, rear scene, mechanical siren, and a siren brake. Quick view inside the rear section, roll-up doors closed, right and left EMS compartments. As we move outside, we'll find two adjustable shelves and also a pull-out style shelf on the very bottom. That release mechanism for that tray is going to be on the right-hand side on the roller. As we move over the rear tire, you'll find the long compartment. There is a strap on the inside. Remember, when you open the compartment from the outside, to reach in and release that mechanism. Inside, you'll find your tool board D-handle to open or release, and on the right-hand side of the hinges, you'll also find a locking mechanism when it's in the open position, unlock to restore back inside the compartment. Just below the marker light, you'll find a placard regarding extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious where you park your vehicle. Moving forward, you'll have adjustable shelving, LED lighting in this compartment. As we move to the pump section, this is the cab lift location. You do have a protected switch and also an activate switch. There is a caution here regarding remove the bumper turret before raising the cab. Just beneath that, you'll also find a warning label here regarding fall protection, that you should not ride on the side of the vehicle, and then also a warning label here regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards while removing a cap under pressure. On the left, you'll find your foam fill location. Directly in the center, you'll find behind the Pierce American Flag Eagle, this is your large diameter intake. Moving to the right, you'll find a 2.5-inch discharge. Because of this being an electronic valve to control it, there is an override located just beneath that, or down to the lower left. They're both in orange. Just beneath that, you'll find the large diameter passenger discharge. It is reduced down to a 2.5. You'll also find override located just beside it. It's also indicated in green. Moving to the left, you'll find your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. This is a 2.5-inch female inlet. And then just beneath that, you'll find all of your color-coded drains. They are pull to drain. Back to the cab lift, I would like to remind you again of that caution label to remove the front bumper turret before raising the cab. There are raising instructions and lowering instructions on that placard. Here's a close-up of the foam outlet flush, and also drain. This is your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. Moving down to the bottom, all your associated and color-coded drains. Let's move to the opposite side, where you'll see that number 2 discharge and then also large diameter in green. As we move through the next set of images, this is a warning label regarding entanglement hazard. We're at mid location of your apparatus. There are the crosslays located here. They are color-coded and also labeled. The release mechanism for the lower section is the latch, which will allow you to remove those speed loads to the next position. As we move to the cab, on the side, passenger and driver side, you'll find a digital readout for the water tank indicator, and then also at the top, your roto lights for your emergency lights on the side. As we move to the very front passenger side, this is the side-facing camera. Congratulations, Monroe, Oregon, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32907. If you have any questions as regarding this video or any questions about your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.